In this tutorial, we're going to look at how you enter hours into the timesheet. The first thing you need to do is make sure that you're set to the proper month. If you're in the wrong month, you can just look at the tabs down below and switch to the appropriate month. If you're in the Info tab, it will look something like this. Generally speaking, you only need to go in here if you need to change certain values such as your default day or your name, that kind of thing. So just select the month that you're working on. Make sure that the day in question is scrolled into view, and now we can start entering the hours. When you right click on a cell within the grid, you'll have a menu that shows you several different options. The option we want to start with is default day. Your default day was set up on the Info tab, and there are actually up to 4 different defaults that you can select. But we'll start with just a regular default. This will set up whatever time is in that Info tab default day and just copies it over. Now we can modify it accordingly. Let's say that we drove on this day from 7:30 until 8. We select that range with the mouse, make sure that our cursor is inside that range, right click and set the status. This will change that time from driving to driving from on duty not driving. Once again, let's say we drove at the end of the day, get back to the office, set the status, and we changed it. You can actually double click on a cell to change an individual cell status. So if you had a lunch break for 15 minutes at 11:30 to 11:45, simply double click it and it changes to the off-duty status. When you're selecting cells, you cannot select cells from multiple rows. If you try and set the status, in this case, you'll get an error message. Also, if you are selecting cells and it overlaps with already existing cells that you want to set, that's not a problem. Simply set the status and you'll see even though it overlapped, it still sets the status accordingly. If you make a mistake and need to start over, simply redo your default day and it resets everything. So we'll set the status to driving, and again here, driving. You'll notice that as we do our duty grid, it will automatically calculate the totals, give us the total of on-duty time for the day, and how much time we've had in our cycle at this point. Let's move on to another day. Let's see what the other defaults might look like. In this case, this default is set up for someone who's working 12-hour shifts. So they're working from 7 till 7. Okay, once again, they can go in and they can modify things accordingly. Let's say they had to take off work an hour and a half early. Once again, we can overlap, set the status, and it's done. It will recalculate all of the hours accordingly. If you have a day off duty, you can select day off, and it will fill in the entire 24-hour period as being an off-duty period. A couple of things to keep in mind. When you're selecting a range of cells and you want to right-click to change them, if you have the mouse cursor too close to the edge, you'll notice that the cursor will change to be the pointed arrows rather than the plus sign. When it's in the pointed arrows, you can right-click and nothing happens. You have to make sure it's got the plus sign. Also, it's possible to actually drag a cell or a region of cells. If that happens, just hit Ctrl-Z to undo the change, and everything will go back to the way that it was. Now let's say you want to record a reset. In this particular example, we've taken enough time off duty that we have more than 36 hours, which is what's required to reset our cycle. So on the 4th, coming back into work, we'll set up our default day, just like that. And over here where we have the reset column, we'll just enter in here the value 36. That just tells us we've got enough hours for a 36-hour reset. And as soon as we've done that, we'll notice that the cycle calculation hours will only include today's hours. It doesn't include anything going backwards. If we made a mistake and find out, well, this wasn't enough for a reset, we can simply clear that field and it once again calculates the entire cycle. When you're finished entering your hours for the day, simply save the file either using Control S or go into File, Save. And that's all you need to do.